guys, today we'll be doing the spoiler-free review of the entire Mistborn Era 2 trilogy with a smudge of secret history. This trilogy is about Wax and Wayne, well, mostly Wax. And Wax is this nobleman who's half Terrace and half Allomancer. And he has these ferrochemical abilities and the allomantic ability, so he is what we call a twinborn. So is his best friend Wayne, and it's kind of a buddy cop situation here. They're best friends and they're cops and stuff like that. But he goes back to the big city after being a constable in the roughs because his house is in financial trouble, and he has to, go back to be a nobleman. And this is one of the parts of the Alloy of Law, of which I have the Dutch translation here. There is no translation for book 4 or 5, but that's not important. When Wax comes back in Elendel, in the big city, he learns that it's not that much better than the roughs, in that there is also a lot of crime. And he starts to solve that crime together with, of course, his best buddy, Wayne. They also work together with Marasi, who is a local constable, aka an actual policeman instead of a vigilante cop. And she helps them solve a crime. We get introduced to Steris as well, which is a woman that will be vital to Wax's rebuilding of the house. And it's actually 3 separate books, of course, in a trilogy, that's mostly the case. With 3 separate storylines, but with an overarching plot. We start in the Alloy of Law, where it's mostly a train robbery western heist book story, mixed in with, of course, the fantasy. And then we have the second one, which is Shadows of Self, and that's more of Sherlock Holmes meets western meets whodunit. Whodunit, crime-solving murder. While the last book, The Bands of Mourning, well, not really the last book, but the most recent book, The Bands of Mourning, is more of an Indiana Jones style, adventure, fantasy, western type of book. So 3 different kinds of premises, 3 different kinds of plot, but with the same characters, with the same magic system, all that, within the same world, which is interesting because I did not think he would manage to pull it off, but, well, it's Sanderson, he always manages. The magic system is, of course, the same as in Mistborn Era 1, with a few tweaks and added stuff, because, it's been 300 years, and people have learned some new things about magic. Speaking of Mistborn Era 1, this trilogy is at the same time a lighter tone, while also being a bit less YA, just because it has more gruesome themes and less of teenage drama is a big word, but the themes are a bit different. That being said, there's also the characters. They do start out a bit wonky in the first book, because actually Alloy of Law was not meant to be a book. It was just a short story that was a writing exercise, or a creative writing exercise that got a bit out of hand, like stuff sometimes does with Brandon Sanderson. We've all seen the Kickstarter. I think that got out of hand too. That being said, they really come into their own into the later books, in the sense that some characters that I did not like, I won't say hate because that's a strong word, but characters which I did not care about in the first book became my favorite character in the last book, and I won't spoil who it is because I think you will love the character as well. The overarching plot, which I've also mentioned, does have some Cosmere-wide implications. And that will probably be explored more in the book that's coming the 15th of November. That's The Lost Metal. This will be the final book of the actual trilogy slash quadrilogy, depending on how you see Alloy of Law. And the implications being that there are gods at work, or shards at work, so to speak, which will probably at some point flow over into the other Cosmere works. There are also some characters that crossed over, or probably will cross over into the other books in the Cosmere. Speaking of course, the other books in the Cosmere, there's Stormlight Archive, which will come a bit later. And Mistborn Era 1, I have already mentioned. What I did not tell you was that it is required reading, because there are some references, and of course the magic system, and even characters from Book 1 or Era 1 that are mentioned and have an appearance in Era 2. Next to that, I think this trilogy is great. I'm not going to say it's amazing, but it's better than Era 1 in some parts. In other parts, it's not. It's a different kind of tone, but it's less bloated than Stormlight Archive, which is also a big plus. I think this is one of Sanderson's strengths when he writes these shorter stories, and they just are one big Sanderlanche. Of course, we have the end of the epilogue, which I will not spoil, but this gave me the biggest holy shit moment in all of the Cosmere, without a doubt. And it's explored more in Secret History and a bit in the 11th Metal as well. So I implore you, if you want to read Secret History between Mistborn Era 1 and 2, don't. Read it afterwards. I will have the playlist linked in the description below, because I have made this tiny read-along, very short. I think it's only about 6 or 7 videos. And some reviews as well. This makes for a good starting point, and if you think I want more in-depth reviews with a bit more spoilers, go and watch those. I will link it in the description. Mission accomplished, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye now.